Subject is reactive abuse. So, at the heart of the issue is a lack of accountability, not being willing to accept responsibility for one's actions because it's too painful. In order to say with your chest, I did that, I'm sorry, that would take humility, that would take accountability, responsibility. But with narcissists, that is too uncomfortable. They want to believe, just like all of us, that they are good people. And a good person wouldn't have done what you're accusing me of. And so they're simply not willing to accept that very, very uncomfortable thing that they did, that accusation, because it goes against the narrative that they're a good person. A good person wouldn't have done that. It's much easier to accuse you of being too sensitive, to accuse you of living in the past. You know, why do you bring up something that happened last month, last year, 2 years ago? Betrayal is a hard pill to swallow. And the closer the person is to you, the more difficult it is to swallow that pill. And so when a close, beloved family member betrays you, and this becomes a routine, you want to see closure. You want to hear them address why they did what they did. But once again, it's a narrative that is unacceptable. We all have a conscience, or at least most of us do. And it's a good thing, because a conscience gets us to, over time, having to apologize for heinous behavior. Eventually, you work on yourself. You know, you do the work. And the vast majority of people in 2025 are not willing to do any work. They're only willing to say to themselves, that's too uncomfortable. I can easily put the blame back on you. Reactive abuse. So a lot of times, if you call someone on like some really, really bad behavior, and this person's a narcissist, they will become unhinged. And they will abuse you radically in that scenario, which is totally rubbing salt in the wound that they caused. Because why would you bring up such an uncomfortable thing? And you pretty much know on some level that this person's gonna just go ballistic and totally start yelling at you and pointing the finger at you and making all kinds of crazy accusations. It's because what they did hurt you so bad that you really want to try to still have some belief in their humanity. And you want to give them an opportunity to say they're sorry. I apologize. I shouldn't have done that. I was going through a difficult spell in my life. I was short-sighted. I wanted to look powerful and important to this new group of friends that I have. So I purposely humiliated you, and I was wrong. I'll try not to do that again. That's why you're bringing it up, because you want to think that this person has enough goodness and enough humanity to acknowledge what they did. The sad part is, or maybe it's actually the good part, is that over time you start to see these patterns. Look at the sunrise just barely hitting that peak. You want to I lost my train of thought. Mother Nature, you ruined my train of thought again. It's so beautiful up here. Oh yeah, they play themselves because, you know, they have this false perception that they are so special that you will just keep taking it. And no matter what, they've already demeaned you enough and hurt you enough and lowered your whole self-concept enough that you'll never leave. And so they keep putting that, stabbing you in the back. Sometimes they even do it, they stab you right in the chest. You know, knowing full well that you're seeing them pull out the knife. Here, I got one right here. So they know that you're gonna see them pull out the knife, lock it, turn it around, and stab you right in the heart. They know full well that you saw that, and that's gonna leave an indelible mark upon your memory, in your mind. And they think you're just gonna always forgive. And then you'll see when you bring that up, you might bring it up 2 or 3 times over the course of the next 10 years. And all they do is get angry. And then there's been new betrayals upon new betrayals upon new betrayals. And you see every time you bring it up, they just go into that unhinged, even like possibly threatening you with violence, thinking, I gotta get this guy to shut up, you know? So I'm gonna resort to whatever means necessary to get him to put a sock in it. So they might threaten physical violence when it's like, you know that they did this really, really heinous thing several years ago. And you know they've replicated it over and over and over. And you know when you bring it up, they're going to make all these blame shifting. They're going to point the finger at you. You're too sensitive. You live in the past. And then they're going to make a threat of physical violence, whether just with their body language or actually verbally saying, if you bring this up again, I'm going to make you a bloody mess. Leave it alone. And you're just like, wow, it would have been so much easier for you to just say, I'm sorry. I'll try not to do that again. But that's your mindset. That's how you think. These people live under that mask. And so they're not going to go there. But you keep thinking there's got to be some humanity in them. This is a beloved friend, a beloved family member that we've been together for decades, 30, 40 years or more. That's not what matters. It's only the mask, because they lie to themselves. And if they have to accept the truth of what a crummy person they are, the mask would come off. And that's a narcissistic injury that they might not recover from. And so just shut up or I'm going to take you out. I'm going to leave you in the gutter as a bloody pulp. Literally say things like that to you. And you're just like, so, like a baseball, someone took a baseball bat and just hit you in the back of the head. You're just like, what you did was so wrong. And you keep doing these kinds of things to me. And every now and then I get the nerve to bring it up. And you always react with this threats of violence and, just yelling and screaming. So they play themselves. And eventually, when it is time to leave, you've already given them chance after chance, time after time. And you realize there's no use in really discussing it anymore. Just exit stage left. That little door with the little red exit sign above it. You realize how easy would it be for me to it's only 3 steps to my left. I'll just take the 3 steps. Even if they see me pressing on that door push that unlocks the door, even if they see me, I'm so close to freedom at that point that it doesn't matter. I'm going to be 3 steps away from them, so they're not going to be able to reach out and grab my coattails and pull me back. So 3 quiet steps towards the exit door, I'm gone. And then they are left bewildered because remember that facade, that mask, is based on how special they are and how the people in their lives will never leave because you're so blessed to be in my presence. You'll never leave. You're going to keep being the emotional wasteman. You're going to keep taking the punishment because the whole world knows that, I'm a god. But they're not a god. They are a very, very insecure, screwed up, sad excuse for a human being. I hate to say that because I'm talking about my family members. I'm talking about most of the friends I've had, most of the girls I've dated. The people that I still pray for, that I still love. But it is what it is. And you can't feel too much sympathy for them. You just have to exit stage left and hope the best for them in your absence so that you can lick your wounds, bandage your wounds, hopefully with enough journal writing, maybe therapy, and enough passage of time. There is that old adage, time heals all wounds. And I believe that to be true. Sure, there's still going to be a mark, a scar, but a scar doesn't bleed anymore. A scar is no longer sensitive to the touch. So that's the goal. There will always be the impression. They've changed you for all of eternity. You will never forget what these individuals put you through. But it can become something that is in your rearview mirror. And so when someone touches on that psychological wound, it's a scar. So it doesn't hurt that much. And you now have the discernment and the knowledge to recognize it and to just beat feet, exit stage left on that new person before they're able to do damage. Because you now have this wisdom acquired through much pain and difficulty. And that's what the Lord hoped. That's what the Lord hoped for, is that you would increase your discernment, wisdom, knowledge, and that they would see a different way of behaving, that they would see that I can humble myself, I can try to become accountable. But it's funny, the empaths always learn from these people, and these people almost seem to never choose what you represent, which is humility and being able to suffer through apologies, being able to suffer through how you are a very imperfect and fallible human being. And I'm going to leave it there. Love you very much. God bless.